The storm was not normal that day, and every soldier on the frozen planet could feel it. The wind was too loud, too sharp, like it was trying to hide something inside it. Sergeant Cale moved slowly through the snow, his boots sinking deep with every step. His rifle held tight in his hands. His mission was simple, or at least that was what Command had told him. A ship had crashed, an unknown ship, not human, not friendly. His job was clear. Find any survivors and end the threat before it could grow. Cale had done missions like this before, and he never asked questions. But today felt different, and he did not know why. The sky above him was dark, even though it was not night. Something big was moving behind the clouds, slow and silent. Cale stopped walking and looked up, trying to see through the storm. For a moment, he thought he saw a shadow, something too large to be a ship. Then it was gone, like it was never there. "Stay focused," he said to himself, his voice low inside his helmet. The signal from the crash site was getting stronger. His scanner showed strange readings, energy spikes that did not make sense. It was not like any alien tech he had seen before. That made him more careful, not less. After a few more minutes, he finally saw it. The wreckage was spread across the ice, broken metal glowing faintly under the snow. Small fires were still burning, fighting against the cold wind. Cale moved closer, his steps slow and silent, his eyes watching every shadow. There were no sounds, no movement, no signs of life, but something felt wrong, too quiet. Cale raised his rifle and walked between the broken parts of the ship. The design was strange, smooth in some places, sharp in others, like it was not made for humans to understand. He saw marks on the metal, deep cuts, like something had attacked the ship before it crashed. That was not in the report. That was not supposed to happen. Cal's grip tightened on his weapon. "Command, I have reached the crash site," he said. Only static answered him. The storm was blocking the signal. Now he was alone, completely alone. A sudden sound stopped him, soft, almost too soft to hear. Cale turned quickly, aiming his rifle toward the sound. Nothing, just snow moving with the wind. He waited, his heart beating faster now. Then he heard it again, a small sound. Not metal, not machine, something alive. Cale followed the sound, moving around a large piece of the ship. And then he saw it, a small figure, hiding behind the broken metal. At first, he thought it was just part of the wreck, but then it moved, slowly, carefully. Cale aimed his rifle directly at it, his training taking control. "Come out," he said, his voice calm but firm. The figure did not move. The wind grew louder, almost like it was trying to push him away. Then slowly, the small figure stepped forward. Cale's finger moved closer to the trigger. The mission was clear, no risks, no mistakes. But when the figure came into the light, Cale froze. It was not a soldier. It was not a monster. It was a child. Small, weak, and shaking in the cold, but not human. Its eyes glowed softly in the dark, bright and deep. They were not filled with anger. They were filled with fear. Cale did not move. For the first time in years, he did not know what to do. The child looked at him, and slowly raised its hand, not to attack, not to defend, but like it was asking for help. Cale's rifle was still pointed at her. His orders were still clear in his mind, but something inside him started to change. The storm grew louder, and far above the clouds, unseen by him, something massive began to move closer, watching, waiting. The storm did not slow down, and the cold kept getting worse. Sergeant Cale stood still, his rifle still aimed at the small alien child, but his mind was no longer clear. This was not how the mission was supposed to go. There were no reports of survivors like this, no mention of children, no warning about something that could look so human. The girl did not move closer, but she did not run away either. She just stood there, shaking in the cold, her glowing eyes locked on Cale. For a moment, neither of them moved. Only the sound of the wind filled the space between them. Cale slowly lowered his rifle. Just a little, not fully, but enough to show he was not going to shoot. "Stay where you are," he said, his voice softer now. The girl tilted her head slightly, like she did not understand the words, but understood the tone. Cale took a small step forward. his boots crunching loudly in the snow. The girl flinched, her body pulling back in fear. That small movement hit him harder than any enemy attack. She was not dangerous, she was afraid. Cale looked around quickly, scanning the area again. There were still no other signs of life, no movement, no heat signals on his scanner, just her. That made no sense. Where was the crew? What happened to the rest of them? His training told him this could be a trap, something designed to make him lower his guard. But his instincts were telling him something else, something he had not felt in a long time. Doubt. Command respond, he tried again, tapping the side of his helmet. Only silence answered him. The storm was too strong, cutting him off from everything. Now there was no one to give him orders. No one to tell him what to do, only his own decision. Cale looked back at the girl. Her skin was pale, almost glowing under the dim light of the burning wreckage. Her eyes were bright, but not in a normal way. There was something deep inside them, something old, something that did not match her small body. She took a slow step forward, her movement careful, like she was testing him. Cale did not raise his rifle again. Instead, he lowered it completely, letting it hang by his side. The girl noticed. Her fear did not disappear, but it changed. It became something quieter, something closer to hope. Cale reached into his pack slowly, making sure not to move too fast. He pulled out a small heat blanket, standard survival gear for extreme environments. He placed it gently on the ground between them and stepped back. The girl looked at the blanket, then back at him. She did not understand what it was, but she understood what it meant. After a few seconds, she moved forward and picked it up, wrapping it around herself. Her shaking slowed, just a little. Cale let out a breath he did not realize he was holding. This was not part of the mission. None of this was. "Who are you?" he said quietly. Even though he knew she could not answer, the girl looked at him again. And for a brief moment, something strange happened. A soft sound entered his mind, not through his ears, but directly, a whisper. Not clear words, but a feeling, cold, fear, and something else. Loneliness. Cale's eyes widened slightly. That was not normal. That was not possible. He took a step back, his hand moving toward his rifle again. The girl quickly lowered her head, like she was afraid she had done something wrong. The feeling disappeared as quickly as it came. Now there was only silence again. Cale stared at her, trying to understand what just happened. "Did you do that?" he asked. Of course there was no answer. But deep down, he already knew. She was not just an alien child. There was something more, something he did not understand yet. A loud crack of thunder echoed across the sky. Cale looked up quickly. The clouds above were moving faster now, twisting in unnatural ways, and for a brief moment, he saw it again, that massive shadow, bigger than anything he had ever seen. It was closer this time, much closer. Cale felt a cold wave run through his body. This mission was not about a crashed ship. It was something much bigger, something far more dangerous. And somehow this small, quiet child was connected to it. The girl slowly stepped closer to him, holding the blanket tightly. Then she reached out her hand again. This time, she did not stop halfway. She was asking him to choose. Not with words, but with trust. Cale looked at her hand, then at the dark sky above, then back at her. He knew one thing for sure now, whatever was coming. It was already too late to walk away, and this time, he was not sure if he was the one in control anymore. The wind howled louder than before, and the sky above them looked more dangerous with every second. Sergeant Cale did not take his eyes off the small alien child, but his mind was now thinking about something much bigger. That shadow in the sky was not just a ship. It was something else, something alive or something controlled by a power he did not understand. The girl's hand was still stretched toward him, small and shaking. Cale hesitated for a moment. Then slowly, he reached out and took her hand. The moment their hands touched, everything changed. A sharp pulse ran through his body, like electricity, but not painful. His vision blurred, and suddenly, he was not standing in the snow anymore. He was somewhere else, a dark place, deep in space. He saw stars, but they were moving too fast, like time itself was broken. Then he saw shapes, huge shapes, floating in the darkness. Not ships, not creatures. Something in between. They were watching everything. Watching him. Cale tried to move, but he could not. Then a voice echoed inside his mind. Not one voice, but many voices together. "We see you." Cale's heart started racing. "What are you?" he tried to say, but no sound came out. The voices did not answer directly. Instead, he saw something else, a memory, but not his own. The small girl, standing alone on a broken world. Fire everywhere, destruction, silence, and above her, those same massive shapes. Watching, waiting. She was not running, she was hiding. Cale understood one thing in that moment. She was not just lost. She was being hunted. Suddenly, everything snapped back. Cale fell to one knee in the snow. Breathing heavily, the storm returned. The cold returned. Reality returned. The girl quickly pulled her hand back. Looking scared again, Cale looked at her, his eyes wide with shock. "That was you," he said softly. She did not answer, but she did not look confused either. She knew what happened. "You showed me," Cale whispered. The girl slowly nodded. Just a small movement, that was enough. Cale stood up slowly, trying to control his breathing. This was not a normal mission anymore. This was something far beyond human understanding. He looked up at the sky again. The clouds were breaking apart now, and for the first time, he saw it clearly. A massive structure floating above the planet. Dark, silent, and endless. It did not look like a ship. It looked like a shadow given form. Cale felt a deep fear inside him, something he had not felt in years. That thing. "It's looking for you, isn't it?" he said. The girl did not speak, but her body moved closer to him. That was her answer. Cale clenched his jaw, thinking fast. If that thing found her, everything would be over. Not just for her. For everyone. His scanner suddenly started beeping loudly. Cale looked down quickly. Multiple signals, coming fast, not from the sky. From the ground. "They're here," he said under his breath. The girl looked around, her fear growing again. Shapes started moving in the distance. Dark figures, low to the ground. Fast and silent. They were not human, and they were not like the girl. Cale raised his rifle again, this time without hesitation. "Stay behind me," he said. Stepping in front of her, the first creature came into view, long, thin, with sharp limbs and glowing eyes. It did not stop. It ran straight toward them. Cale fired. The shot echoed through the storm, hitting the creature and throwing it back into the snow. But it did not stay down. It moved again. More shapes appeared behind it. Too many. Cale's heart started pounding harder. This was not a rescue mission. This was a hunt, and they were in the middle of it. The girl grabbed the back of his armor. Holding tight, Cale fired again, then again, trying to hold them back. But he knew the truth. He could not fight all of them, not alone, not for long. The creatures kept coming closer, surrounding them slowly, and above them, that massive shadow in the sky began to move again. Not watching anymore, coming closer, Cale took a step back, protecting the girl, his mind racing, searching for any way out. Then he realized something. Something important. These creatures were not attacking randomly. They were moving with purpose, like they were being controlled. Like they were following orders. Cale looked down at the girl, then back at the creatures, then up at the sky, and the truth hit him hard. They were not just hunting her. They were trying to capture her, alive, and that meant one thing. She was more important than he ever imagined. And now he was standing between her and something that would destroy anything in its way to get her back. The creatures kept moving closer, and the circle around Cale and the girl became tighter with every second. Snow blew between them, but it could not hide the danger anymore. Sergeant Cale stood firm, his rifle raised, his eyes moving fast from one target to another. There were too many, he knew it. They were not trying to scare him. They were closing in slowly, like they already knew he could not escape. The girl held onto his armor from behind, her small hands shaking. Cale could feel her fear, not just from her touch, but inside his mind again. It was stronger this time, fear. And something else, urgency, like she was trying to tell him something important. "Wait. What are you trying to show me?" Cale whispered under his breath. For a second, everything around him felt slower. Then he saw it, a quick flash inside his mind. A path. A narrow passage between the broken parts of the crashed ship. Hidden by snow and shadow. A way out, Cale blinked. And the vision disappeared. He looked in that direction, and for the first time he noticed it. A small opening between the wreckage. Almost invisible, she was guiding him. Cale tightened his grip on the rifle. "Stay close," he said quickly. The creatures were now only a few meters away, their glowing eyes fixed on the girl. They did not care about him. He was just in the way. Cale fired again, hitting one of them in the front. It fell back. But two more moved forward instantly. They were not afraid of death. That made them more dangerous. Cale took a step back, then another, slowly moving toward the hidden path. "Keep moving," he said, his voice calm but fast. The girl followed him closely, not letting go. The creatures noticed. Their movement changed. Faster now, more aggressive. They understood what he was trying to do. Suddenly, one of them jumped forward. Faster than the others, Cale reacted instantly, firing at close range. The shot hit it directly, but its sharp limbs still struck his shoulder armor. Cale stumbled back, pain shooting through his arm. "Ah," he grunted, but did not fall. The girl made a soft sound behind him, filled with fear. "I'm fine," Cale said quickly, even though it hurt. There was no time to stop. More creatures rushed forward. Cale turned and ran toward the narrow path, pulling the girl with him. They moved through the broken metal, the space tight and difficult to pass. The storm made it worse, snow filling every gap. Behind them, the creatures followed, their sounds echoing through the wreckage. Cale's breathing became heavy, his movements slower because of the pain. But he kept going. He had no other choice. They finally reached the end of the passage. Cale stepped out into a slightly open area, hidden between large pieces of the ship. For a moment, everything went quiet again. Too quiet. Cale turned around quickly, aiming his rifle back at the path. Nothing came out. No creatures, no movement. "They stopped," he said, confused. That did not make sense. They were so close. Why would they stop now? The girl slowly moved in front of him, looking toward the sky. Cale followed her gaze. The clouds had almost cleared, and now the massive shadow above them was fully visible. It was huge, far bigger than anything he had ever seen. Its surface moved slowly, like it was alive, and it was directly above them now. Cale felt a deep pressure in the air, like the world itself was holding its breath. "That thing. It's controlling them," he said quietly. The creatures were not chasing anymore, because they did not need to. Something else was coming. Something worse. A low sound filled the sky, deep and powerful. The ground beneath Cale's feet started to shake. The girl stepped closer to him again, her fear rising fast. Cale looked around, searching for a way out, but there was nowhere to run. No cover. No escape. Then suddenly, a beam of light broke through the clouds. Dark and heavy, not bright like normal light. It moved slowly, scanning the ground, searching. Cale's heart started pounding harder than ever. "It's looking for you," he said to the girl. She looked up at him, her glowing eyes wide. Then she shook her head, slowly. Cale frowned, confused. "What do you mean?" "No," he asked. The girl stepped forward, then gently placed her hand on his chest, and once again, that strange connection opened. But this time, the feeling was different. Not fear, not loneliness, truth. And what Cale saw next made his blood run cold. The beam was not searching for her, it was searching for him. Cale froze where he stood, his breath slow and heavy inside his helmet. The beam above them was not searching for the girl, it was searching for him. That's not possible," Cale said quietly. He had never been on any alien record, never been part of any first contact mission. He was just a soldier, nothing special. So why him? The girl's hand was still resting on his chest, and the connection between them opened again. But this time, it was deeper, clearer. Cale did not see random flashes anymore. He saw a full memory, a moment from the past. But it was not his, it was hers. He saw the same frozen planet. But without the storm, the sky was clear, calm. And in that sky, The massive structure was already there, silent and watching. The girl stood alone on the ground, smaller than everything around her, but she was not afraid back then. She was waiting. Then Kale saw something else. A human, a man in armor, like him, standing in front of her. But it was not Kale. This soldier looked older, tired, but calm. He knelt down in front of the girl, just like Kale had done earlier. The girl reached out to him, just like she did now. And when their hands touched, the same connection appeared. Kale watched carefully, his heart beating faster. This had happened before, long before him. The memory shifted again. The sky turned dark. The massive structure above them began to move. The ground started shaking. And suddenly, everything changed. Fire, destruction, chaos. The older soldier stood up quickly, placing himself in front of the girl, protecting her. He was not afraid, even when the world around him was falling apart. Then the beam of light came down from the sky. Just like now, Kale watched as the light locked onto that soldier, the same way it was locking onto him now. No. Kale whispered. He already knew what was going to happen. The soldier turned back one last time, looking at the girl. There was no fear in his eyes. Only one thing, choice. Then the light took him, pulling him up into the sky, and he was gone. The memory ended. Kale gasped and stepped back. Breaking the connection, his mind was racing, trying to understand everything. That was another human, he said. The girl looked at him, her expression quiet, but heavy. She had seen this before, many times. You showed me this. Why? Kale asked. The girl slowly stepped closer again. Then she pointed at him. Kale's chest tightened. No, you're saying. I'm next, he said. She did not nod, but she did not deny it either. That was enough. Kale looked up at the sky again. The beam was getting stronger, more focused. The ground around him was starting to lift slightly, small pieces of ice floating upward. It was already choosing him. Why me? Kale asked, his voice low. This time, when the connection opened again, the answer came clearly, not in words, but in feeling. Human, choice, resistance. Kale understood. Those things in the sky were not just looking for power. They were looking for something else. Something only humans had, the ability to choose, even when it made no sense, even when it was dangerous, even when it meant sacrifice. Kale let out a slow breath. So that's it. You don't want her, he said, looking at the sky. You want someone like me. The girl grabbed his arm suddenly, her fear rising again. She shook her head quickly this time, stronger than before. No, Kale said softly. It's okay. He knelt down in front of her, just like the soldier in the memory had done. For a moment, he did not feel like a soldier anymore. He felt like something else, someone who had a choice. You've seen this happen before, he said, and every time. The human goes with them. The girl's eyes filled with a soft glow. Not fear this time, sadness. Kale gave a small smile, tired but calm. I guess it's my turn now. The beam above grew stronger, pulling harder. The snow around them lifted into the air, spinning slowly. The moment was coming, but Kale did not stand up yet. He stayed there, in front of her, because now, for the first time, he was not thinking about the mission, or the orders, or the enemy. He was thinking about her, and what would happen after he was gone. The light from above grew stronger, pulling at Kale's body, lifting small pieces of ice and metal into the air around him. The storm no longer mattered. Everything was focused on that one moment. The girl held onto him tightly, her small hands refusing to let go. Kale looked down at her, his expression calm, even as the force around him increased. It's okay, he said softly. But this time, something changed. The girl shook her head again, harder than before. Her eyes began to glow brighter, not soft like before, but powerful. Kale frowned, confused. What are you doing? He asked. The connection between them opened again. But now it was stronger than ever. No more small flashes, no more broken memories. This time, Kale saw the full truth. And it was nothing like he expected. He saw the massive structure in the sky. But now it was clear. It was not just one. There were many, thousands of them, spread across space, watching different worlds. watching different species, waiting. Then he saw humans, not just one, many, from different times, different places. Each one standing before a child like her, each one making the same choice, to protect, to stand, to refuse to give up someone weaker. Cale's eyes widened. This has happened so many times, he said quietly. The truth continued to unfold. Those things in the sky were not hunters. They were watchers, testing, searching for something. And humans kept passing that test, again and again. But then the vision changed. Cale saw what happened after the humans were taken. They were not destroyed. They were not killed. They were changed, their bodies surrounded by light, their minds connected to something larger. They became part of the system, part of those massive structures. Not prisoners, not slaves, something else. Something more. Cale's breathing slowed as he understood. They're not taking us, he whispered. They're choosing us. The girl stepped closer, her glowing eyes locked on his. And then came the final truth. She was not running from them. She was part of the test. Cale felt a cold wave move through him. You're with them, he said. The girl did not move away, but her expression changed. Not cold, not empty, but sad. Very sad. You're not just a child. Are you? Cale said. The connection deepened one last time. And now the truth became clear. She was a guide, a trigger, a being sent to create that moment. The moment where a human must choose between orders and compassion, between fear and humanity. Cale let out a slow breath. So this whole thing, the crash, the creatures, everything, it was all to test me. The girl closed her eyes slowly. That was her answer. Cale looked up at the sky again. The beam was now fully locked onto him. The pull was stronger, lifting his body slightly off the ground. He should have been angry. He should have felt used. But instead, he felt something else. Understanding, because the choice he made was still real. No one forced him to lower his weapon. No one forced him to protect her. That was his decision. And that was what they were looking for. Cale looked back at the girl. So what happens now? He asked. This time, the answer came clearly in his mind. You can come or you can stay. Cale froze. That was not what he expected. You mean? I have a choice, he said. The girl nodded slowly. For the first time, the fear inside Cale returned. Not fear of death, but fear of the unknown. If he went with them, he would leave everything behind. His world, his people, his life. But if he stayed, what would happen to her? What would happen to the next world they tested? Cale clenched his fists. This was not just a mission anymore. This was something bigger than him, something that could change everything. The beam pulled harder, lifting him higher into the air. The moment of decision had come. Cale looked down at the girl one last time. Her eyes were no longer glowing with power. Now they looked small again, almost human. Almost like she did not want him to go, and that made the choice even harder, because now, for the first time, he realized something important. This was not just their test, it was his. The light pulled harder, lifting Sergeant Cale slowly into the air. Snow and broken pieces of metal floated around him, caught in the same force. The storm below looked smaller now, like it was no longer important. But Cale's eyes were not on the sky, they were on the girl. She stood below him, small and silent, her eyes no longer glowing bright. Now they looked normal, soft, almost human. Cale's heart felt heavy. This was not just a mission anymore. This was a choice that would change everything. You said I can stay, Cale called down to her. His voice was calm, but deep inside, he was fighting himself. The girl nodded slowly. And if I go? He asked. The answer came into his mind again. You become more. You help guide others. You protect many worlds. Cale closed his eyes for a moment. Protect many worlds or protect one child? It sounded like an easy choice, but it was not. Because that one child was real. Her fear was real. Her trust was real. Cale opened his eyes again and looked at her. You knew this would happen, he said softly. She did not deny it. But you still asked me for help. This time, she stepped forward. Just a little. That small step said everything. Yes. Cale let out a slow breath. Then he made his decision. The light pulled him higher, almost taking him away. But suddenly, Cale forced his body forward, fighting against the beam. The pressure increased instantly, trying to pull him back, but Cale did not stop. With one strong movement, he broke free and dropped back down into the snow. The force around him disappeared in a sudden shockwave. The beam above flickered, like it was reacting to his choice. Cale landed hard on the ground, breathing heavily. The girl looked at him, her eyes wide with surprise. "You don't need another soldier," Cale said, slowly standing up. "You need someone here." The sky above grew darker. The massive structure moved slightly. For a moment, everything felt still again. Like the universe itself was watching his decision. Cale stepped in front of the girl once more. Just like before, his rifle in his hands, his body between her and whatever would come next. "I'm not going anywhere," he said. The girl's eyes began to glow again. But this time, not with fear, with something new, something stronger, hope. The ground trembled again, but this time it felt different. Not like an attack, not like a threat, but like something had changed, far above them. The massive structure slowly began to move away. The beam of light disappeared completely. The sky started to clear. And for the first time since Cale arrived, the storm began to calm. Cale looked up, watching as the impossible shape faded into the distance. "They're leaving," he said quietly. The girl stepped closer to him, no longer afraid, no longer alone. Cale looked down at her, and for the first time he smiled, not as a soldier, but as a human. "Looks like you're stuck with me now," he said softly. The girl did not speak, but she reached out and held his hand. This time, there was no fear, only trust. Time passed slowly after that. The storm fully stopped, the sky became clear, and the frozen planet felt less empty. But Cale knew something important. This was not the end. Somewhere far away, those watchers were still there, still searching, still testing. But now, they had seen something new, not just sacrifice, but refusal. Not just obedience, but choice. And that might change everything. Cale looked at the horizon, then back at the girl. "Come on," he said. "We've got a long way to go." They started walking together across the frozen land. One human, one alien, both unknown to the world, but not alone anymore. And far above them, hidden beyond the stars, something watched once more. Not with control, not with judgment, but with curiosity, because for the first time, a human had chosen a different path, and that made them more dangerous than ever before.